Hi everyone, it's Milton Kane again. Today I'd like to have a look at the case for or against government-owned and run monopolies. Free market economists encourage privatisation of government monopolies, and with the support of actuaries from financial institutions, convincing arguments are given to government of the cost-benefit to analysis to actually privatise a certain utility at certain ways. The question is, are some of these monopolies, are they things that are really appropriately put forward to privatisation? And what does it actually mean to privatise them? And what are they actually privatising? The question is something that we must answer with real care. We must examine how the utilities work, how they work in the society, and whether or not there is some natural competition within them, or whether it's an unnatural and an unhealthy competition. That's the reality of it all. Before we can actually ascertain that, we need to see what a natural competitive market looks like. Well, essentially what it looks like is this. You actually have, as a consumer, you have the choice of suppliers. You have more than one supplier. You also have more than one choice of exactly what you're getting. For example, you will get, if you privatise, if you're having a privatised market for apples, you'll have different varieties of apples available. You'll have different sizing, you'll have all different quantities that they will sell them in, and you'll have a number of varieties of people who will actually sell them. They could be from supermarkets, they could be from roadside stalls, they could be from people just particularly designed to sell fruit and veggies, or just designed to sell fruit. There's a whole array of things. From time to time we'll see people on the side of the road with a vehicle selling fruit from the vehicle. All of those sorts of things where you have lots of choices of how you're going to get your supply. There's also, obviously, because it's a consumable product with everybody will buy, there's obviously lots of people out there competing for those products being sold by the various consumers. That makes a healthy market. That makes really for what would be a whole competitive process. You also find that when you actually have a healthy supply, a whole competitive market, you'll have variations in price. Not necessarily because of quality, it's because of a whole array of reasons why you'll have that. There could be some simple things from as much as these are more convenient, these ones are sold in a bulk amount, these ones are sold as individuals, and all of that stuff. These ones are polished, these ones aren't. There's a whole different variety of the particular products, as in the apples which I referred to. So all of those things go together to make it a really something which can quite easily be privatised and ought to be privatised. It should not have a single supply, because obviously there's more than one business that grows them, and hence so your whole thing is all right from the beginning is it variety all the way, and you can choose to leave it or take and choose to buy as many or as few as what you want. That's how the whole process works. That makes a healthy market. The conditions that we find that don't come to a healthy market when you actually have a single supply line. Now, a single supply line, as far as utilities are concerned, for example, we'll take electricity. Electricity comes through one cable to your house. It is reticulated through the community by a set of wires, but they are all interconnected and they are all coming from one source. There is one location where they're coming from. there will be a transformer in the city, there will be substations in the city, there'll be all of those things, and they go through them to be able to be marketed. So it's a single supply line, and it's also a single product. All you're going to buy is electricity. I mean, sure, you can buy differing amounts of it because you will consume differing amounts, and they may give you a discount if you consume a certain amount or whatever else, or consume it at a certain time, but they're the only varieties. But at all times, it is only one product for sale, that is electricity. The same goes for water. Water comes through one pipe to your home from one local dam, one local source. It is supplied through that system. It's reticulated through that system, as also is gas. When you get the gas reticulated to your home, that comes through, again, one source. All of these things, the price is predetermined because you have a single supply line, you actually have the price is determined by a single person. It all comes through that single situation. And there is not a perfect balance for the price within it. There is never a perfect price. It is a take it or leave it. If you don't like the price you pay, well, then you can't consume it. It's as simple as that. And that's how it works. These things are not, absolutely not, something related to the free market. And of course, as I have already tried to outline, some of those things which are really natural monopolies is water supply, electricity, roads. We've got a lot of private roads in this country. They're toll roads. They're really not really something which is a natural supply. You've only got one road, essentially. If you don't use that particular highway to get to your destination, you've actually got to go around a whole lot of back roads and all that sort of stuff. And hence, it is a problem with the roads. The thing too is that there's a government guarantee about the minimum money that those toll roads will make. All of that simply shows it's not really a healthy competition. It is an unnatural competition. Phone services, that's another one. That's not really a healthy competition either, because if you have a fixed line, you have one line coming into the home. And as far as the mobile network is concerned, you only have, currently we actually have two major network suppliers which supply the service. It's either Telstra or Optus, who actually supplies the towers which allow the mobile phone network to function. Other companies which they come off the back of them, they purchase a part of that particular. These are not natural. Not natural competition. They are natural monopolies. Railway services, exactly the same again. Railway services, you actually have one track. You either catch the train or you don't catch the train. That's the way it is. They've got a fixed fare. It's not really. There's no privatisation in that effectively. Sure, they have privatised a few lines that have done that, but still they have done things that's not really workable. It's not really intelligently workable. And the same with the line itself. They have actually privatised. They've got some private companies to actually do the servicing on that track. But again, it's not really a natural. It's not a natural competitive market. It is really one railway line. You use it or you don't. That's it. There is nothing else. Garbage collection, exactly the same again. The garbage is collected from your home. It comes in a truck. You can't go and choose somebody else. Not realistically. It just doesn't work that way. And same with public transport. Public transport again is something else which is a natural. It is a natural monopoly. Because at the end of the day, public transport, to be able to be effective, it comes within the whole system of the transport on how it works and how it functions. You may have some private operators there, but there is not one single private operator that operates public transport in this country without government assistance. There is guaranteed money coming in on those services. I know I've had experience in the transport industry, in the bus industry, where to supply a particular service, for example, between Maitland and Dungog, that service is supplied, and there's a minimum amount of money which if business doesn't earn this minimum amount of money, the government subsidises up to that level because they consider that service is important to have. So it is a community good. It is something which realistically is not something which is in the competitive market. Even in Sydney, where they have these contracts and they contract out, but it's not really effective competition. It is just simply something where private operators will operate that, but they operate it under a contract from the government, and so hence it is really completely different to a natural competitive market. So the privatisation of these utilities are only what I refer to as pseudo-privatisation. Initially they become as the bill function, that is privatised, and that's all that happens to be privatised. I have a graph there which will show you something to deal with the gas supply. You'll find that when the gas company supplied all of the gas, right from the retriculation to harvesting of the gas, right through the whole system, there was there's a set fee to cover the infrastructure, and then there's a price per litre of gas which is consumed. Now, they used to sell that at one particular price, and of course again they may make some discounts associated with the volume of, but that's not privatisation. That's just if you use a lot, we're going to actually give you a bit of a discount. If you're going to use a little, we're not going to give you much of a discount. It's as simple as that. Then what they did is they privatised the bill, and it looked like it was privatised because they sold off the billing of the company. So what happens is the billing of the company, instead of selling it for the original price, and they will actually bring the price down, which they sell the gas to these billing people, because there's no longer that infrastructure needed to have all of the billing and to deal with the bad debts and all that associated with that. They have a guaranteed sale of it where people buy block amount of gas, so many thousand litres of gas they're going to consume in a certain period of time, and they're going to push that on, and they're buying part of the market. And what they do is they go out there and they've bought so much gas, and what they do is they try to sell that gas, and it is a competitive market, and so they will have their high price which they will charge when you first sign up, and you don't know anything about it, and you fall into the high price category, and they like to have some people there. People that don't argue the case to get cheaper gas will pay that high price. And if you're in an area where there's not too many other people running the bill in that area, if you argue a bit, you'll get a lower price, but not too much. But then over time, when others come into the market, what they'll do is they'll see there will be 20% and 40% increases. In fact, in Western Australia currently, there are some gas companies operating 45% discount. If you argue the case good enough and strong enough, there's 45% discount from their standard price, which is quite. That's how that functions. But that is not privatisation, because it's the same gas. It's coming from one place. These billing companies are buying a bulk amount and they're reselling it. All they are is resellers, and all it is somebody is betting that they can actually do the bills cheaper than somebody else, and so on the basis of that, they're actually doing that. All it means is that the government, the money that the government was getting as a dividend from the company, because the company was a government thing, and what they do is they supply money to the government, to the treasury, certain dividends that come to them on an annual basis. The government forgoes some of that in their whole privatisation process, but they actually get that in advance because they've actually sold so much of that contract to those other people who have come into the market. They've sold that, so they've got some of their money in advance, plus the fact is the indirect taxes which they charge, so they make up all the money that they were going to get in the first place. They've got all of that plus some more, and effectively they say, oh, it's going to be cheaper. Well, cheaper. I asked our Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, something about something being cheaper and in an election campaign. I said to her, How can you justify it's cheaper when in fact the bills are a lot higher than what they were before? And she simply said, well, they're cheaper than what they would be if it wasn't for the fact of what we have done. In other words, they're cheaper than what we could be charging you if we chose to charge you more. In other words, I'm actually fudging the figures, I'm fudging the reality of life. And that's exactly what the Premier was doing at the time. Not telling the truth, telling porkies, which is common for many politicians. So that's where the whole thing works. I have another graph there which I could show you, which is a linear graph. It depends upon how much you want to buy, how much, and how the actuaries come along and actually figure out where they want to put the price. You see, basically the financial institutions are out there, and as we talked about banks last time, essentially the financial institutions are out there and thinking about ways they can make money. It's very simple. If there are 20,000 transactions occurring every week, and you go and make $2 on every transaction, 20,000 transactions by $2, that's $40,000 that you make additional. And if you can actually bring that increase into just a small percentage on every month or so, or whatever, every billing cycle, just bring a little bit on, what happens is you end up making a whole lot of money as a result of that. And it becomes millions and millions of dollars before too long. One of the other things which they've privatised recently in New South Wales is, in fact, the land title deeds office. That was the most stupid piece of privatisation there was ever. It should never have been done. What have they effectively done? We actually had land titles which were guaranteed by the government, and you paid a stamp duty. Well, actually you paid more than stamp duty. They called it stamp duty. The stamp duty was actually the amount of money that it cost to actually look at the product. They look at it, they say, yeah, everything's fine. They look at the transaction, they see that you've actually purchased a property and every single thing is done proper according to the rules, and then they put on it, they put a stamp on it. Originally, the stamp used to be something which would actually you would raise up the bottom of it. It would have it was an embossed stamp, so that it made it into an official document. Now, that part of that wasn't very much at all. The reason why I know that is because I inherited a property, and if I put it into my name, it wasn't costing us almost nothing to put it into my name. But because it was left just to me alone, if I put it into my wife's name, it was going to cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. The stamp duty that you pay for purchasing a property is actually a tax for purchasing the property. And if you want to get affordable housing, any government should come in and simply say, okay, that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, whatever it is that they're putting in on so-called stamp duty, they can get rid of that tomorrow by just simply not charging it. They don't have to charge it. They shouldn't charge it. But that's what they do. They just get out there and they charge you that money because they can. Now that they've actually privatised it, supposedly, that means they've sold the record keeping of that to another company. What right have they got to charge you for that stamp duty? Oh, they need that money because it's well and truly into Treasury. It's really into the figures, and that's what they need the money for, because they've already got plans to spend it. And so they do a double take on it. Of course, the company that has control of these, they are supposed to now guarantee the title. Well, I don't know where it's going to go exactly, but I do know that in other parts of the world, their titles, they need to be underwritten by insurance in case there's a dispute over the title. We don't have the dispute in titles. We never had the dispute in titles when they're owned by the government because of the process of embossing it to make it lawful. There was a set process to go through. It was a government record and it was not able to be so easily corrupted. But these days, who knows what it will be. We could be like the American system where in fact if you don't have insurance on your title, you could lose the title. You could lose the title deed to your home. Not very successful, not very good, but that's the direction that we've chosen to go. So at the end of the day, when we look at whether or not we should privatise something, ask yourself the question, is it really a privatisation? Is it really that? Or is it a pseudo-privatisation where the bill itself, and only the bill, is privatised? They break it up, that's what they call it. They say they break up the utility to privatise it. All that means is we're going to privatise the bill so different people can charge you. If you really want to deliver good electricity from wholesome way, the best economical way, the best environmentally friendly electricity, if you want all that to be done right, you have to do it through government control. Today you can actually pay in your bill, you can actually go and pay a levy to make sure that your energy comes from green energy. Now, okay, it is true that the company that you may be buying it from may invest money into green energy. It is true. But I can tell you one thing, the electricity that comes through the wires into your home, you have no idea where that was produced, how that was produced, and whether that has come from coal-fired power stations, whether it's come from solar panels or whatever. You don't know, because it has just come through what is in the system. That's it. And the same would go for water or any other thing. You do not know where it is sourced. All you know, there is a flow and you take what is there. At the end of the day, if you want to be sure about what you're getting, you need to make sure that we don't do these smicky mouse things, all this smoke and mirrors of government to do a pseudo-privatisation. The question is, how do we get back from it? Well, I guess it's a hard road, but I think it's appropriate that we start thinking about how we can do that. Because at the end of the road, we know that in the long run, it is not cheaper to break up a company which is a natural monopoly, to break it up and to sell off bits and pieces of it so somebody else puts the bill. Now, it doesn't matter what it is. There was toll roads in New South Wales long before there was private businesses owning them. There was a toll road. There was a toll on the Harbour Bridge, and there was a toll on the what was called the highway north. The highway north coming from to Newcastle area. There was a toll there as well. Those tolls went to pay for the actual work to build those roads. The one on the Harbour Bridge was there to pay for the maintenance of the bridge, because that was very expensive. It needs to be continually painted to keep the upkeep of it. It needs other work, because having such a large amount of steel exposed to salt air, it is a lot of hard yakka to keep it in good order. And that's what you're paying for. But the question is, when you go and sell off a road to somebody else, have you really done the right thing? Has the government done the right thing? That's a question that we have to answer. That's a question when you're dealing with policies you have to answer. At the end of the day, if it is not, in my view, if it is not a competitive market, a real competitive market, then it ain't something that should be privatised. It's as simple as that. I hope that helps you in thinking about whether we should do something. We need to note that many things that are privatised by government, that are functioning already, they have minimum amounts of money they must earn, and they are subsidised to that. And the fact that they are subsidised to that demonstrates they are not natural products that can be, and natural businesses that are really open to the competitive market. They're actually monopolies. That's all they are. And they're hands of a monopoly, and just the bill is coming from a different company. And that's all there is to it. Thank you.